we go. We're live. What's cracking, everybody? I'm live and I'm in my car. Don't worry, my car does drive itself, so it's not like I'm being unsafe. My car drives itself. I just have to keep my hands on the wheel and I have to pay attention. Or my hand anyway. The other hand is holding the phone. But I'm being safe. Don't worry. What's cracking, everybody? I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. We just got done eating world famous Arthur Bryant's world famous barbecue. So apparently it's a world famous barbecue spot. What's cracking, Ian? What's good? Matt's place in a tip. What's good? Ian, yeah, amazing shit. Heck yeah, dude. We just finished Mikey's book launch at Prospero's Books in Kansas City, Missouri. It was tight. Mikey's book is on Amazon. You can go buy it now. Now, keep in mind, there will be further revisions and all that stuff. As far as like the copy editing and some of the formatting. But maybe it'll be like cool little Easter eggs. Maybe like eventually in the future, people will compare, the different versions of the texts that they got and see. I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? Ian, where can I see your laptop? Hit me up. Actually, you already did hit me up. I saw that. I didn't get a chance. I haven't been to my computer yet. Will has the video footage. So we'll have to get that over to you, Ian. But it's basically Ian asks, where can I see the LAC presentation? My LAC presentation. My LAC presentation was basically the recent Substack piece, ethical processing units. I was just kind of riffing on that. And actually, Allie, I don't know, I forget your name. You left a comment on that piece, and I need to follow up with you on that, or follow up with you. I need to respond to that. Because I want to respond. You raised a good question. Like, aren't we already living in this future where we have no separation from the other? And I would say, yeah, we do live in the world where it's very easy to live without separation from the other. Now, the world I was describing that would be truly horrifying is when we no longer have separation from ourselves. And that would also kind of imply like total participation with the other as well. Because if you're in identification with yourself, then you're also able to be in total identification with the other. But Allie raised the question, don't we already live in this world with our devices, with our text messages and our emails and our cell phones and all that? And that's a good point. It is true that you never have to wonder about the other. You never have to wonder about your partner, right? Like if you go out of town for work and your partner stays home, back in the day, you would wonder about it, right? You would worry about it. Now, maybe you have a good, strong relationship, but you would still, there would be a negativity in your knowledge. And so you would always wonder. But if you have a good relationship, because you have a good, strong relationship, you're both, well-adjusted, well-intentioned people, responsible adults. Because you're not a little crybaby, you confront those feelings in the lack of that immediate satisfaction. And it's in the dealing with, it's in the confrontation, the reconciling to those feelings. It actually strengthens your bond. It actually strengthens your relationship. But in the world we live in now, you no longer have to wonder. You just text message. You send a billion text messages. You send a billion emails. You keep doing FaceTime calls, and you keep looking at the Snapchats, and you keep doing too much. And it actually diminishes your relationship because all you're doing is just instrumentalizing each other. You're not actually allowing yourself or the other, or your partner in this instance, to kind of grow and live in this virtuous circle of solitude and solicitude. And that's the world we live in today for many people. And it's not good for relationships. You and this is just one example of the future that was kind of vaguely gestured at. It's not the only example, but it's one. But anyway, I need to write about that too. So that's a good point. Allie Ale. I don't know how to say your name, Holmes. I'm sorry. But anyway, we just finished Mikey's book launch at Prospero's in Kansas City. I'm going back to the hotel to drop off my leftovers from world famous Arthur Bryant's share live location so I can drone strike you. I should do that, huh? About to drop off my leftovers in my hotel fridge, and then we're gonna go back over to Mikey's and do a double feature movie night. But it was tight, dude. It was good. We'll have the recording uploaded soon. Hopefully, we were unfortunately not able to live stream it to YouTube, which is a bummer. But those homies that were in the Zoom call, shout out. We'll get the recording up for posterity, hopefully soon. One thing I wanted to talk about, what initially inspired me to do a little short negativity hour episode on the drive to my hotel. I wanted to talk about hyperstition. Mikey's book, Capital versus Time Energy, a Zizekian critique of Nick Land. If anybody knows anything about Nick Land and the CCRU, you will know that hyperstition is an important concept. And it came up briefly during the talks today, but we didn't really get into too many of the details. And I think, like, I remember hearing the term hyperstition, and I remember hearing people talking about hyperstition, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. That sounds cool. But it never really cashed out. Like, I was always still left kind of wondering, like, oh, so what? So what? Like, oh, it's a cool word. It sounds cool. But like, but so what? Why does it matter? Is this just like cool stuff? Is this just aesthetic? Is this just like, look at me, I'm a punk rocker. I have a mohawk. I use cool words that sound cool. Hyperstition. And of course, that's not the case. But I felt that way when I heard other people talking about it because they never really went into too much detail. Now, Mikey did a good job today of the cash out of hyperstition, talking about the power of memes and the power of the popular imaginal and like things that are memes on the internet can eventually become realities in the physical world. And one of the examples he used was Donald Trump, the memeing of Trump. You know, there were memes about President Donald Trump before he even started running for the presidency. And that's a powerful thing. So using these kind of superstructural kind of currents to gain political efficacy, that is a very important thing that hyperstition has to deal with. Mikey also mentioned some of the sci-fi movies we were watching last night at his house. And we were watching Demolition Man last night. And that's a great movie. If you haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time, do yourself a favor, go watch Demolition Man. It's a good movie. But basically, Demolition Man, the world that Sylvester Stallone wakes up in, it's like a liberal fascist regime. And it's crazy. And Sylvester Stallone is a man out of time. He's a fish out of water. And it's played for comedy, but it's also, it also matters to the plot, and it's important. And the reason it's more interesting, other than just being, oh, we love science fiction movies, and oh, we like to think about stuff, like that movie came out in 1993, I think. Pretty sure it was 93. Like, the people who are making policy decisions right now the people who are working at these tech firms that are designing the technology that really does determine our horizon of possibilities in our daily life world, they watched that movie when they were younger. And now they're like making decisions and they actually have access to things that cause concrete changes in all our daily lives. And like those ideas that start out as fiction, the more they get repeated over and over and over again, it becomes a kind of common sense. And it becomes a thing that you take for granted. Like in the movie Demolition Man, they're all walking around basically with tablets. And they have self-driving cars, and there's a bunch of funny shit. But like when this stuff is in the popular imaginal, and it just gets repeated over and over and over again, it gets taken for granted. And so people who are kids and they watch this stuff, they grow up to be tech developers and policy makers and stuff like that. And like this is a level of, I don't know, awareness of ideology, or I don't know, like there's a level of common sense, things that they just take for granted. That's pre-ideological. Like they don't even think about it. They don't even second guess it. They just kind of take it for granted. So that's another kind of instance of hyperstition, and another reason why hyperstition matters. It's not just a cool, edgy word to make us sound cool. And Mikey did a really good job of doing that, of making it matter. I just wanted to give my 2 cents. Hyperstition, there's never really any like really good examples of what it is. Like when people try to explain it, it's always kind of vague. So I'm going to give you guys one of my favorite examples of hyperstition. I want to let you know that it fails, and then I'll explain why it fails, and tell you why that's interesting. And then I'm going to go back over to Mikey's house. We're going to have a science fiction double feature. We're going to kick it. All the homies are there, and it'll be sick. So my favorite example to use when trying to explain hyperstition to somebody is the velociraptors in the movie Jurassic Park. So in the movie Jurassic Park, oh, I just got a text message. I don't know what it says. In the movie Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs are little velociraptors. They're not little, they're big. They're the size of like a horse, basically. And they scare that kid and they eat the people, and they're like, oh, velociraptors. Well, in real life, velociraptors are not that big. Velociraptors are like the size of a chicken. Velociraptors are small. But Steven Spielberg, when he was making the movie Jurassic Park, like he talked to some dinosaur scientist, and the dinosaur scientist was like, dude, velociraptors are not as big as horses. They're the size of chickens. And Steven Spielberg was like, well, you know what? I don't really care, dude, because my story needs dinosaurs as big as horses to amp up the stakes and to make it visually interesting and emotionally compelling and this and that. So he went ahead and just said, I don't care if it's inaccurate. My velociraptors are about the size of a horse. And then they made Jurassic Park, and Jeff Goldblum is one of the coolest dudes ever. Well, it turns out a couple years after the Jurassic Park movie came out, there were some scientists in Utah, and they discovered a new species of raptor that is about the size of a horse. Fancy that. Who would have thunk? So it turns out there are raptors that are about the same size as the raptors from the first Jurassic Park movie, but they're named Utah raptors because, once again, velociraptors are about the size of a chicken. Utah raptors, they're this new species that was discovered after the release of the first Jurassic Park movie. Those are basically the same dinosaurs that Steven Spielberg featured. But they didn't exist. Like, that was not a known fact. Like, when Steven Spielberg made the movie, he was using an inaccuracy to tell his narrative. And then it turns out, after the movie was released, scientists discover Steven Spielberg's dinosaurs in the, in the rocks in Utah. Now, this is not, technically hyperstition, because with hyperstition, intentionality is kind of assumed. That's why people go to memes. That's why people talk about and that is also why we make the connection between unconscious belief. It's also why I innovated the term hypostition, because it has to do with unconscious belief and intentionality and saying the thing is going to happen before it actually happens. Even though it might be impossible when you're saying the thing, it's through the repeated action of saying the thing that you are actually able to bring the thing about. So you can go in all kinds of weird directions with it. You can talk about ritual. You can talk about like reverse teleology, which I like to talk about sometimes too. You can talk about all kinds of stuff. So the Steven Spielberg Utah Raptor thing is not hyperstition per se, but it is hyperstitional because Steven Spielberg intentionally chose to break the rules of history to kind of serve his narrative. The really weird part about it, the part that makes it kind of very, very similar to hyperstition, is that they found his version of the raptor after his movie was already released and already in the popular imaginal. So people all around the world already thought that raptors were the size of horses when they first discovered that raptors were actually about the size of horses. So, people could make an argument that's not hyperstition. I guess I kind of am making the argument that it kind of is hyperstition. I'm also kind of making the argument that I don't give a shit I don't give a shit. That's why it's worth sitting down and talking about it. Like, words you're never going to have like perfect shared meaning with someone on a word. So it is always worth it to explain what you mean and get on the same page and try to figure it out from there. Language is a negotiation. Language is about, spiraling the target until you get ever and ever and ever tighter until you guys can both agree on the thing. Because my version of blue is always going to be different from your version of blue. I might mean periwinkle and you might mean navy. So we need to come back to the table and sit down and talk about the nuances of what we mean when we say words. But yeah, Steven Spielberg, Velociraptor, Utah Raptor, hyperstition. Just wanted to get that in there on this very short episode of the Negativity Hour. And like I said, I'm going to go put my barbecue leftovers in my refrigerator. And then I'm going to go over to Mikey's house and we're going to kick it, have a science fiction double feature, and probably eat a bunch of like gummy bears and stuff. Thank you, all you people that were there for the book launch. It was special. It is special. Today is a special day. This book is an important book. Mikey's book is, I think, currently the most important book in the theory scene, and probably will be for some time. So thank you for all of you that made it. Like I said, we'll have the footage uploaded eventually. We're on tour. Shit takes a long time sometimes. It is what it is. Also, Ian, don't let me forget. We'll make sure you can get access to that LAC footage as well. That's Ian Wenzel, not Ian from Wales. It looks like we have both Ians here right now. So Ian Wenzel, don't let me forget that. Ian from Wales, what's up? What's up? Everyone else who's in here, like I said, thank you. We'll see you guys all when we see you. Peace.